Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. Today is October 3rd. I'm going to do your Just for Today in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.D Recovery Services. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. All right. It is entitled Losing Self-Will, October 3rd. Our egos, once so large and dominant, now take a back seat because we are in harmony with the loving God. We feel that we lead richer, happier, and much fuller lives when we lose self-will. Basic text, page 105. Addiction and self-will go hand in hand. The unmanageability that we admitted to in step 1 was as much a product of our self-will as it was of our chronic drug use. And today, living on self-will can make our lives just as unmanageable as they were when we were using. When our ideals, our desires, our demands take first place in our lives, we find ourselves in constant conflict with everyone and everything around us. Self-will reflects our reliance on ego. The only thing that will free us from self-will and the conflict it generates in our lives is to break our reliance on ego, coming to rely instead on the guidance and power offered us by a loving God. We are taught to consult spiritual principles, not our selfish desires, in making our decisions. We are taught to seek guidance from a higher power, one with a larger vision of things than our own. In doing this, we find ourselves meshing more and more easily with the order of things around us. No longer do we exclude ourselves from the flow of life. We become a part of it and discover the fullness of what recovery has to offer. I have to move this. Just for today. Yeah, now I can see. Just for today, I seek freedom from ego and the conflicts generated by self-will. I will try to improve my conscious contact with the God of my understanding, seeking the guidance and power I need to live in harmony with my world. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer, and then we'll unpack this a little bit. Moment of silence now. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. You know, I really appreciate this meditation today because I know that even today, if I'm not careful, my ego can still be very large and still be very dominant. I prefer that it takes a back seat to God, right? To a loving God, to allow me to be in harmony with God's will. Because see, one thing I know, and I'm pretty sure that you might agree, is that when I'm operating in self-will, no one else matters. And I'm really good at pretending that they matter, right? I've learned through childhood how to manipulate emotions, right? And one way that I learned was to make a person feel like they're the most important person in the room or in your life, right? And so through those traits of manipulation and lying and cheating, things that equate with self-will, excuse me, I'm still yawning. Things that equate with self-will, through doing those things, that made certain that I didn't feel, like I was, um, and I don't say I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. In the back of my head, I pretty much knew that the whole end of the game was to get what I wanted. And that in itself is wrong if it means that you got to crawl over and stump over other people, lie, pull them into your schemes, and they don't even know they're in the scheme, get mid scheme and get caught by somebody, and then you got to kind of force them to finish their lie, their part, because they didn't know that they were supposed to even be a part of your, scheme. Yeah, so I hurt people, and I'm sure that you did too. Um, in the pursuit of obviously self-will. So we have to take this seriously. We can't continue to be in recovery. Well, we can continue to be in the rooms of recovery and say we're recovering, but it's a lie if we're continuing to pursue, um, self-will, our ego, what we want, and not taking into consideration those people around us. But beyond just considering those people around us, right? My first consideration is my relationship with God. My spirituality, my ability to feel like, when you lied on a friend and you know that they're figuring it out that you're being dishonest, how hard it is to look them in their eye. Oh, I got so many stories I could tell, but I don't have the time to tell them all today. But it's kind of like that with me and my God. It's like I know when I have done something to cause injury, not just to the relationship, but I want to put it in this way. I know that I've done something to make other people reconsider whether or not God is worth believing in. And I know that sounds heavy. But when I claim that I have a higher power, and if you see my vehicle, it's full of things that would indicate that this is a woman that believes in a higher power. When I'm driving and I have road rage, I'm very cognizant that they're reading these things on my car and then they're thinking something different. Like, really? She believe in God that much and she's driving like that? So, not all the time, but a lot of the time, I do things like with all the traffic backed up, I let people in. I let them cut. I let them get in, even though I know they seen this long line almost half a mile behind us. But for some reason, they're distracted and they get all the way to the front, assuming that someone's going to allow them to get in. Now, there's sometimes I don't, because I too am in a hurry to get to where I'm going. But a lot of times I make myself intentionally do the things that are opposite of self-will, opposite of ego. I don't use them as a measuring stick about my relationship with God necessarily, but I just believe that when I'm in harmony with God, I'm I'm doing things that are more apt to communicate that God is caring and loving, and that through me, God is also caring and loving. And that's all this is all about, is losing your self-will and finding your God will. Because when you do so, things seem to go a lot smoother. There seems to be a lot less confusion and conflict in your psyche about who you really are, what you're really doing. There's not that internal conflict and those automatic negative thoughts that you have. They can be there, but they don't make as much noise. So I'm able to quiet the part of me that is self-condemning, um, angry, manipulative, willing to lie, willing to cheat. I'm able to calm all of that down just by intentionally saying today, I'm not pursuing my will. I'm pursuing God's will. My true will is God's will. I know you guys in recovery have heard that from the basic text. So that's what I want for you today. I want you to seek freedom from your ego and all of the conflicts. I'm so glad to see that word because that's really what it generates. It makes conflicts within your spirit. And when those conflicts begin, they're like little tiny cracks in your foundation. And if you don't notice them before long, something comes along and is able to use that little tiny crack of self-will and ego and pry it apart and make it until it's a full-blown disruption and demolition of your foundation of recovery. I couldn't have put that that had to be God. But that's what that comes down to. And I don't want that for you. So today, I challenge you to slow down so that you are able to observe. See, there's a way to be meditative in everyday living, right? I want you to be meditative in the way that you go about your life, your lifestyle. Because if you're meditative and you slow down internally, you're able to watch how those, you heard that song sitting by the dock of the bay, watching the tides roll in and watching them roll away, right? So if you are meditative in your day-to-day lifestyle and you slow down, you're able to watch as those good thoughts and those bad thoughts, those mannerisms that you picked out from your step 4, 5, 6, and 7, you're able to watch them come in, and you're able to send those that you know you don't want a part of back out to sea. And you're able to allow the ones that are positive and healthy in universal love and goodwill, you're able to allow those to spend time within your being, within your soul. And the conflict has less opportunity to come to you. My name is MightyStream, and I've enjoyed talking to you today. And I am going to be talking to you shortly with the other meditation. But in the meantime, I want you to go about your day and have a beautiful day on purpose.